On August 13, 2018, in Frederick, Colorado, Christopher Watts murdered his pregnant wife Shanann by strangulation and their daughters, Bella and Celeste, by suffocation. He buried his wife Shanann in a shallow grave near an oil storage site and placed the girls' bodies inside crude oil tanks, each with an opening only 8 inches in diameter. Watts initially denied involvement in the family's disappearance, but on August 15, he was arrested after admitting during an interview with detectives that he had been responsible for Shannon's death. He later acknowledged that he had also murdered his daughters. On November 6, 2018, Watts pleaded guilty to multiple counts of first-degree murder under a plea agreement, in which the death penalty, later abolished in Colorado in 2020, was removed from consideration. He was sentenced to 5 life terms without the possibility of parole, 3 of them to be served consecutively. Christopher Lee Watts and Shanann Watts met in 2010 via Facebook and married in Mecklenburg County on November 3, 2012. They had 2 daughters, Bella Bells Marie Watts and Celeste Catherine Cece Watts. At the time of her death, Shanann was 15 weeks pregnant with a boy, who was to be named Nico. The family lived in a 5-bedroom home on Saratoga Trail in Frederick, Colorado, which they purchased in 2013. They filed for bankruptcy in 2015. Watts worked for Anadarko Petroleum, while Shanann worked from home, selling a product called Thrive for the multi-level marketing company Lavelle. At approximately 1:48 a.m. on Monday, August 13, 2018, Shanann returned from a business trip to Arizona and was driven home by her friend and colleague Nicole Utoft Atkinson. Over the weekend, Watts had been at home with their daughters. Later that day, Atkinson reported Shanann and the girls missing after Shanann failed to attend a scheduled obstetrics and gynecology appointment and did not respond to text messages. When Shanann also missed a business meeting, Atkinson went to the Watts residence at about 12:10 p.m. After repeated knocks and doorbell rings went unanswered, she contacted Watts, who was at work, and notified the Frederick Police Department. A Frederick police officer arrived at approximately 1:40 p.m. to conduct a welfare check. Watts granted permission for the officer to search the home, where the family dog was found unharmed, but no trace of Shanann or the children was discovered. Searchers located Shannon's purse, which contained her keys and medication. Her phone was later found between the couch cushions in the living room. Her car, with the girls' car seats still inside, remained parked in the garage. Shannon's wedding ring was discovered on the bedside table during the search. The FBI and the Colorado Bureau of Investigation joined the investigation the following day. Watts initially told police that he did not know where his family might be, and that he had last seen his wife at 5:15 a.m. the previous morning when he left for work. He gave interviews to Denver TV stations outside the family home, pleading for the return of his wife and daughters. During one of the interviews, investigators with search dogs could be heard working on the property. On August 15, 2018, the FBI joined the search for Shanann and her daughters. Watts was administered a polygraph examination, which he failed. He then confessed, first to his father, Ronnie, and subsequently to investigators, that he had killed Shanann, though he falsely claimed that he did so only after witnessing her smother their daughters. Watts alleged that he discovered Bella's body and that, upon finding Shanann strangling Celeste, he strangled Shanann in a rage before transporting all 3 bodies to an Anadarko Petroleum oil site where he was employed. He was arrested that day. Watts marked the locations of the bodies on a photograph of the oil field for investigators, who arrived at the site at 11 p.m. The bodies of Bella and Celeste, who had been smothered by Watts with his bare hands, were recovered from separate crude soil storage tanks, while Shanann was found buried in a shallow grave nearby. Each child's body had been pushed through a hatch at the top of a different tank, with the opening measuring 8 inches 20 centimeters in diameter. According to the medical examiner, Bella had scratches on her left buttock from being shoved through this hole. A tuft of blonde hair was found on the edge of one of these hatches. On August 21, prosecutors charged Watts with 3 counts of first-degree murder, including an additional count for each child under a provision covering the death of a child under 12 by a person in a position of trust. He was also charged with unlawful termination of a pregnancy and 3 counts of tampering with the deceased human body. Anadarko terminated his employment on the day of his arrest. Watts was denied bail at his initial court appearance. On November 29, Colorado authorities released surveillance footage recorded in the early morning hours of August 13 by a neighbor's security camera. The video showed Watts loading a gas can into the bed of his pickup truck and then backing the vehicle into his garage. Investigators concluded that he was transporting the bodies of his wife and daughters to the remote oil site where they were later found. The footage, captured shortly after Shanann returned home from her business trip, demonstrated that she did not leave the house with the children that morning, contradicting Watts's initial statements to police. The case has been widely associated in media coverage with the phenomenon of family annihilation, familicide. Many such crimes occur in August, before the start of the school year, which can delay detection and investigation. Former FBI profiler Candace DeLong noted that cases of this type are uncommon because family annihilators usually take their own life after the murders, an action Watts later claimed he had contemplated out of guilt. In an interview on Dr. Phil, Watts's attorney stated that Watts confessed to killing Shanann following an argument about divorce. During the attack, Bella entered the room, and Watts told her that Shanann was ill. He then loaded Shannon's body and the 2 girls without their car seats into the back seat of his work truck, later smothering the children one after the other. Watts pleaded guilty to the murders on November 6. The district attorney of Weld County did not pursue the death penalty at the request of Shannon's family, stated that they did not wish for any further deaths, and supported Watts's decision to accept the plea agreement. On November 19, he was sentenced to 5 life terms, 3 to be served consecutively and 2 concurrently, without the possibility of parole. He received an additional 48 years for the unlawful termination of Shannon's pregnancy, and 36 years for 3 counts of tampering with a deceased human body. On December 3, 2018, Watts was transferred to an out-of-state facility due to security concerns. 2 days later, on December 5, he arrived at Dodge Correctional Institution, a maximum security prison in Waupun, Wisconsin, where he continues to serve his life sentences.